We got to hit the record button
Hit
to make it work.
record.
That's how you do it. All right,
Shut
welcome
up,
back
Jonathan.
to... Yeah, shut up, John. John's in the corner over there. Yeah.
Love you.
Welcome back to the podcast. This is the Ganzfeld Files. I'm your host, James Whalen, and today my guest is Caito.
Hello.
How you doing, Caito?
I'm all right.
All right.
I have goosebumps already.
You got goosebumps?
I got goosebumps.
Goose pimples?
Goose skin. Chicken skin.
Chicken skin.
Yes.
Oh, Caito, the reason I asked you to come on the show is because you're awesome, first of all.
Oh my God. So
Yeah.
nice.
John's giving the hand wave over there. But you also have an occult
Following.
following.
Yes. No.
Yeah. You have an occult following. Whoa, wow.
Well, no.
Yeah, check you out. But you have an occult background.
Correct.
Some sort of witchy background. Are you a practitioner? Do you practice ritual and
I would
things like that?
say so, yeah. And I think a lot, I just want to say at the top here that I think there's a lot of, especially lately, culture around manifestation and
right.
a lot of the product of Instagram witches, and
Insta witches, yeah.
Insta witches. And I think that it really does kind of take away the depth and the what's the word I'm looking for? The kind of the gravity of what it means to be a little bit more spiritually connected in that way. And I think it's a lot of spiritual bypassing. It's rooted in a lot of, kind of colonizer mindset and not really genuine to what the practice actually is. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
So there's a lot of people on social media that are doing it just for the show of it.
Or take my course because it's manifestation magic, and they don't even really know what that is. And manifestation has become this kind of naughty word in the witchy world, I think, because there's this idea of well, if I wish for it, it'll happen, rather than
actually working for it.
Yeah, setting intentions and directing your path towards that. So I think it's just kind of important to say. I think it's gotten a bad rap in the last few years, which is such a bummer because it's been something that I've done for a long time, since I was a teenager, really.
So would you say manifestation is not like a set it and forget it kind of thing, that you actually
Correct.
have to use your intention every day and really put the effort into it to and even then you just get put on the right track. You don't even receive things, not just show up at your door. Right?
Correct. Yeah.
You just have to, yeah.
There was a long time that I was I want to manifest a new place to live. And it kind of was this very back route way into getting a different apartment. And it was not without its trials and tribulations. And now I'm here. I'm oh, right. And going back through journals and seeing that that's something I wrote down as I'm manifesting this. And then it took a lot of pain and heartache and money to get where we were, but we got here. So,
right.
So I think, it's not just, compulsory gifts from the universe. So, yeah.
I think that's what some people do. Especially when I think The Secret was really big. I think people took away a different understanding, a different notion of that. He's oh, well, you manifest it and it comes to you. And I'm there's a little bit more work you have to do.
And it's never in the package you think it's going to be in, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just opens doors and paths and
Correct.
opportunity. And then you have to pick up those reins.
Yeah.
And you have to go down that path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you also have some tools of the witch, right? You have some
Tools of the trade.
Tools of the trade. You have crystals, and you have besides crystals, what else do you have? Oh, you have incense and
I have incense and sage and Palo Santo. There's also a lot of discussion around Palo Santo now being an endangered species of tree, and that it is something that indigenous people often use in their rituals. So it is super important to be mindful of where you're sourcing your things. For me, I would say if I fell under a witch category, I would say I'm probably more like a green witch, a botanical witch. Okay. I would say that just even the plants that I have in the house are really kind of witchy because each of them does have some significance of I don't know if you've seen Practical Magic or
yeah.
if any of the listeners
Yeah,
have, but
I have.
there's
Yeah.
that whole thing about like rosemary and salt and things like that. So I'm probably somewhere between like a green witch and a kitchen witch. If I were to say that, I like calling myself a witch, but I don't like saying I'm like Wiccan or pagan. I feel like I'm just witchy.
So you would do like rituals and practices and stuff like that. What would be the goal? Is it for stuff like, you already mentioned the apartment finding thing. What
Sure.
other things would you try to gain from that?
I think a lot of it is finding peace in terms of your mental health and your well-being. It can come in a lot of different forms, and some people have more like traditional religious approaches to that. Some people are into exercising. Some people like to cook. Some people go to therapy, and those are all incredibly useful tools. And I think that oftentimes when I do what my coach would call sacred morning practice, or for me, because I'm such a night owl, sometimes I'll do sacred evening practice when it's like 2 a.m. It's a lot of journaling, reflection. Very often it's tarot cards, oracle cards, and just kind of sitting in silence, because I think that, kind of going hand in hand with Ganzfeld experiments, that kind of sitting in silence or sitting, hearing the same sound over and over and over and over again can start triggering different responses in your brain. And I think that it can give you like what the end of a yoga session is in Shavasana, where you have that meditative state. I think it can really open up a lot of opportunity for you to approach your day or end your day with some sense of calm and some reassurance that you're on the right path. Or if you're not feeling like you're on the right path, maybe kind of learning where you can tweak your vector a little bit and get onto a good place to help you keep moving forward. So that's a lot of the reason why I tend to do it. Some of it does come in the form of like, I would like a new apartment, or I'm looking for that new job or whatever. But some of it is just like getting out of my own way in order to kind of hear those cues from the universe of like, hey, you're on the right path, especially as an actor and feeling like, oh my God, I'm beating my head against the wall, auditioning and hearing no, 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 no. And when I get to that place of like, ugh, that's when something happens, or I'm reminded of this project, or someone talks to me about this thing or working on that. And I'm like, oh, right, I'm doing this for a reason. And it is that reminder, and you have to get your ego out of the way.
Sure. So I would say, do you believe in the notion of like as above, so below? That kind of thing?
I do. I believe it in a different capacity. I mean, that is like such an occult phrase, as above, so below. It can apply to the kind of more traditional concept of heaven, hell, earth, purgatory, things like that.
Yeah.
But in my viewpoint, the interpretation of that phrase, I see it as more of an astrological standpoint, because there's going to be millions of people rolling their eyes about astrology, but there is a lot that does affect us cosmically. People tend to get squirrelier around a full moon. People will blame everything on a Mercury retrograde, and they'll be like, oh, Mercury's in Gatorade. I'm like, yeah, but did you lose your keys? Did you fucking take a wrong turn? Like, it is a little bit more amplified. And I do think that there's a certain level of effect and sway. It's one of those things. I spoke to my friend Jordan Schomer, who's an incredible astrologer, and she and I had a conversation about, we as human beings are mostly made of water, and if the moon literally affects the tides on the planet, it would be foolish of us to think that it doesn't affect us in some capacity.
Sure. I mean, talk to anybody who's worked in a hospital.
Correct. Yeah, truly. Yeah, the ER nurses that I speak to are like, you would not believe what happens around the full moon. So, yeah, so that, I think for me, that's what as above, so below means. There's a reflection of what is happening astrologically in our daily lives, both at the time we were born, in reference to our birth chart and kind of our sun signs, our moon signs, all of that, but also what's happening cosmically. We kind of see when Jupiter's in a really great sign like Pisces, like it is now, it has this, it can offer an abundance of dreams and fantasies fulfilled. And, you see a lot of that stuff that's happening cosmically. The Great Conjunction happened around this time last year, which is where Saturn and Jupiter lined up, which like go way back to mythology. And they were like, oh, the Great Conjunction of the spheres. And it's in The Witcher. It's in, it's like in all of these different theories. So I do think that there is a sway in there, which is kind of cool. As above, so below also reminds me of the phrase abracadabra, which everybody thinks like Alakazam.
What is like
It's
it's
the
forward and backward, right? It's
yeah, and
okay.
it's like I see what I manifest, or I see there. I can't remember the direct interpretation of it, but it is very much like that kind of third eye opening stuff, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought it was the same as like the Seder square. Mm-hmm. Is it? Yeah, because like the Seder. Well, the intent of the Seder square is to be the same forward to back, left, right, all that, up, down, all that, to confuse evil spirits. That's the
Oh, interesting. That's like the
intention.
Winchester House. Did you hear about the Winchester House?
Yeah, I see.
I
Yeah.
just listened to a podcast
Yeah.
about it. I know about it, and then I listened to this podcast, and I was like, this woman was either so batty or so afraid of ghost spirits following her around her house that she was just like, I'm going to keep doing this. And then like disasters happen, like an earthquake happened, and destroyed
yeah.
half the house, and she's like, whatever, keep going. Like,
Yeah, and like the second she died, all the workers were like, "Stop!"
yep.
They just walked away from the site. Like, this bitch is great.
It's fucking nuts.
Yeah, like stairs that go
love
nowhere.
that. Yes. Like, I'm just like so fascinated, but like that kind of concept of like, maybe, it's not the same forward, backwards, diagonally and things like that, but it is like meant to like confuse and not like be an open portal or whatever.
Man,
I know.
I don't know. What was that the intention that she was trying to do? Was it confuse all the spirits in the house, or was it?
There were a few theories based off of what I was listening to that, some of it that was that she was fearful of the spirits coming to follow her. So she was building and building and building. And some of it was that there was a promise that she would keep building onto this sanctuary until she died. So there were a number of schools of thought as to why she was doing this. No one's entirely sure. She did it. And now we're like never going to know why, but okay. It's pretty fascinating.
That means we got to go investigate.
I would love
Winchester.
to.
Is that in Tennessee? Where is that?
That's a really good question. I don't remember.
I know that she was married to the guy who made all those rifles.
Correct.
It's like Winchester's a rifle and like gun company and shotguns and stuff. So I don't know. We got to look that up. And
there's also a theory that the spirits that she was running from were spirits that were haunting her based off of all of the people who were killed by Winchester guns. And that when her husband died, she was concerned about these spirits following her because they were following him. Right. So that's a theory as well, which I think is pretty fascinating.
Right. That's interesting because I was reading up on, after episode 4, when we had that weird night.
Yeah, I heard that one. That was nuts.
About that one, yeah. After that, I started researching a little bit, and what magic practitioners are saying is that when you're cleansing your space, you have to cleanse a lot of stuff. Like if you bought let's say you bought a wand to use in your magic practice, you have to use incense to clean that wand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You buy something from the thrift store, like a shirt or something like that, and then you wear that when you do your magic practices. You gotta cleanse that shirt. So there's like a lot of cleansing you gotta do. Cleanse all your materials before you create the altar.
Yeah.
And you gotta clean everything off, and like before you do your practices, of course, you have to sanitize everything.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's kind of that concept of like cleaning the kitchen before you go in to cook. Mm-hmm. So you have a clean space to work.
Yeah.
In addition to incense, Palo Santo, sage, things like that. Selenite is super great for cleansing.
What is selenite?
It is a crystal, a type of mineral that is very, very much made of salt and will very easily crumble, but it is said to be a very absorbent and cleansing crystal. So you could essentially like situate your tarot deck with a selenite wand on top of it and have that be a means of cleansing it spiritually.
Yeah.
I know some folks who, especially like thinking about the sweet little coven I have and am I a part of with these two wonderful people of like doing tarot reading. Our sweet little coven. I love it.
Oh, it's a good name for a podcast.
Yeah. Oh, sweet little coven. Oh, beeps. I love that.
Make little muffins.
But like definitely when one of us or many of us were going through it, the idea of like sitting with a selenite wand, like a seatbelt, like holding on universally, like, okay, let's buckle up, So yeah.
I've also heard of like using like black objects or black crystals because black will absorb negative energy.
Yeah. Black tourmaline in particular is a crystal that's particularly absorbent of negative energies. However, it is something that needs to be cleansed itself.
Right.
So once it absorbs it, you have to kind of dump it somewhere.
It's like a ghost trap. You got to empty it out.
Essentially, yeah, you have to empty the ghost trap. You can't just keep filling it up and filling it up and filling it up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. I think right there is a good place to take a break. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Albuquerque ghost cat.
Albuquerque ghost cat. I also have so many ghost stories for you.
Yeah, there we go. We got some ghost stories when we come back.
Heck yeah.
All right. We'll take a little break. All right. Now we're back.
Hi.
From our little break.
I did look up the old meaning of abracadabra. It's
yes.
From the Aramaic phrase avra cadabra, which means I will create as I speak.
Ah.
Which I think is cool.
So that's like an intention setter before
Yeah.
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 That's
Power in
cool.
your words.
Yeah. We got a lot of stories to get to you, Caito, but before we get into that, I'd like to go back, what's it, 2 years ago, something like that? My birthday party.
Was it 2 years ago? It was only a year ago. It was last November, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't this past month, but the one before that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to go back to the birthday party. John and I have covered this extensively, so we've already put our warnings out there and talked about what we went wrong. But before I went crazy, you did a little Ganzfeld session.
Yes.
And I'd just like to touch on that. You want to travel back down memory lane?
Yeah, I think that I don't think it's uncommon for folks to have this, but like with white noise, I'll get the auditory hallucinations. Like it sounds like whispers after a certain time.
Right.
If I'm at a certain angle, like we'll sleep with a white noise machine on, and at certain angles, I think that I am hearing the neighbors, and then I turn my head and I'm like, oh no, it's the fan. So I just have to like remind myself of that. So when I was in the experiment, I was picking up whispers and it was kind of like Harry Potter behind the veil kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not scary. It just sounded like whispering voices, like maybe in an auditorium. Mm-hmm. And then I got a very clear, picture of, I would say old timey, somewhere between 1920s and 1940s American couple. And the names Robert and Marilyn had come up, and they were very present. And nothing really happened, but it was just such a clear image of these two people, and their distinctive names, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that was weird when you were doing your session, because I remember, because I didn't know that you were doing it just yet. I was in the kitchen, like getting some chips, and then there was and you're in the living room. The living room was right next to the kitchen, and then you started talking, and I thought you were talking to me, so I said, "What?" And everybody was like, "Shh." And then I looked around the corner, and then everybody's like sitting in a semicircle around you, and you got the goggles on. And
yeah.
I was like, oh my God. She's talking to.
I was talking. It was mainly Robert, but
Yeah.
Marilyn was there, which was cool. It was like we were sitting at a table, just like chatting.
Wow.
It was bizarre.
Are you having a conversation with these?
Yeah, it was a little
people?
bit of a back and forth, kind of like a fuzzy radio transmission, basically.
Every time we do the Ganzfeld thing, I kind of like the movie Frequency pops in my head.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this could very well happen.
Yeah, it gave me very 1950s New Mexico Roswell vibes. I was like, oh, are we talking to aliens?
Oh, good segue, Caito. Speaking of New
Oh,
Mexico.
yeah.
Oh, you want to talk about the little meow meow you saw running around?
Yeah, so my partner John and I, he's been on the podcast, we went and lived in Albuquerque for about 2 months in the throes of the pan fried noodle. And neither of us were working, and we said, fuck it, we're not going to stay in 400 square feet. And we drove down to Albuquerque, where my family lives, and we lived at my folks' place for a while, and we had this kind of back part of the house. And John and I are night owls, and we stayed up a little bit late, there is a cat there. Like, I have my cat who lives there, and she's not terribly rambunctious, but she's a cat. She wanders around. It's a big house. Mm-hmm. And out of the corner of my eye and out of the corner of John's eye, we both kept catching flashes of a little black tail. My cat's black and white, so I was just like, Chooch is running around. What's going on? But we would turn and look, and Chooch would be asleep on the couch, and there's just this shadow of two little
tail.
legs and a tail that ran past. And we kept catching it mainly like down the hallway, like towards our bedroom was the big one. Or there was a couple times where we were watching TV in the TV room and like saw something. Like it was always like out of the periphery, glitch in the matrix kind of feeling. Which is funny because we have had 4 other cats that have come through that house, 2 of which had died at the house, and 2 of which ended up not working out, and we had to kind of give them up, unfortunately. But there was part of me, one of our cats was black. His name was Ajax. He was like the first one we had. And he was really stupid and really sweet. And he decided sleeping in the road on a warm night was exactly what he needed to do. Right. And that was what happened. But I was wondering if that was like him running around or if it was my other cat, Comet, who like was like my baby. If he was kind of padding around a little bit, which I've never seen. I had never seen that before.
This is like kitty cat heaven.
Yeah, it was really bizarre. Yeah, we kept seeing this kind of like dash, like around. It was always like around the corner. Like the hall was straight back, and then it had a hook turning to the left. So it was always like the cat was running down towards the left. So we saw it just like disappear behind a wall.
And you said it's not solid. It was
shadowy.
Yeah,
it looked like a shadow of a cat, but it was distinctly like a back leg and tail. Like,
so you saw this, and then also John
saw this. Like, and we both were like, are we high? And then we were like, yeah, well, but it was that kind of moment of like, oh no, there's actually something going on, because we saw it like 3 or 4 times, I think, in the course that we were there.
So, but this wasn't like you knew this cat though. I mean, it
was familiar. Yeah. It wasn't scary. It definitely wasn't like, what the fuck? It was just like, what was that? So yeah, it was familiar for sure.
So does Chooch, the living cat, ever? You've seen the cat interact with the ghostly cats, or?
Not really that I've seen.
I just ignored it, like whatever.
Yeah, I've never seen her put out, like she's sensitive. She's a very sensitive girl. Yeah. And there are like outdoor cats that will come to the window and antagonize her, and she's like, ah! But I've never seen her just be weird and freaky for no reason. Because like there's that thing that cats do where they like stare in the corner at ghosts. They're like communing with the kitchen demon. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't ever really seen that from her. But yeah, so whatever it was, the entity was like very chill and very calm.
Okay.
So
that's cool.
It was a relaxed experience, ghostly experience.
Fun. Mm-hmm. And moving along to the place you live in now.
Yes.
There are some sleep paralysis persons.
This is really weird. I've never had sleep paralysis before.
Oh yeah.
I have had I have always had a very vivid imagination, which is why I never really got into horror until like my late 20s, because I would watch a movie and then I would have nightmares because I was too scared. Right. And that was, I slept with my closet light on as a kid up until like age 15, because I was that scared of the dark. Yeah. And New Mexico is very, very dark. Like it's not like you don't get the like ambient light pollution really.
And you buy into the belief of keeping all extremities covered.
Yeah.
By the blanket.
Yeah.
I do too. Like
That's no, I'm safe if my toes are covered. Yeah. There's nothing that can get me if my toes are covered, right? Like that's what it is. But yeah, here, and I'm a very light sleeper. I pretty much hear everything. But I painted our bedroom this light gray color, which you helped me do, as you know. Yeah. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
And all of the wood in the bedroom is very dark, but it's also very glossy. So it has this it reflects the light of the window. Mm-hmm. So early mornings, like the first few months, I haven't, knock on wood, had it in a while, but the first few months that we lived here, I would wake up, and the first entity I saw was, if you're laying in bed, I sleep on the right side of the bed. Mm-hmm. And I'm closer to the bedroom door, which is not my jam. But I have to sleep on my right side, so I had to make some concessions here and there. And I saw this entity like at the corner right, like me laying in bed, the corner right foot of the bed. Mm-hmm. That looked like some sort of like goblin-y, like golem-y, very lanky, thin, pale, like long arms, and it had like not much of a neck, so it was just kind of hunched. And all of these images are static. I don't ever see them move, but it was there for a second. And I remember waking John up, and I was like, "Is there something in the house?" And he was like, "Jesus Christ, like, what's going on?" I was like, "I think I just had a sleep demon." Yeah, no.
Don't wake up.
Best part of waking up is demons in your bed. Yeah, but that was my first like sleep entity that I saw.
Okay. And this entity was, would say, around 3 or 4 feet tall. It was kind of shorter than.
Yeah, probably about 3.5 feet tall.
And it was just, was it looking at you or just staring?
Yeah, it was looking at me.
Okay. And it wasn't.
Didn't move at all.
Wasn't talking, trying to communicate.
Nope.
It was just there.
He was just there, like a D&D minor illusion. Didn't move, or static image. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and was it? Could you tell what it was wearing?
It wasn't wearing anything.
Okay.
It gave me kind of like chupacabra vibes. Mm-hmm. Like it was some sort of creature.
Right.
Yeah, it was a creature, definitely not a person. So.
And there was no psychic information that it was trying to communicate. It was just standing there.
Just standing there.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the first one.
That's the first one. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then I saw kind of like a ghostly soldier, like an old-timey French soldier.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah, that had like a blue jacket with red trim and the gold buttons. That kind of down the front, and the round, flat cap. And that one was like directly at the foot of the bed. Very pale. Looked more like a person, like an afterlife. Ghostly.
Was it doing the same thing? Was it kind of
didn't
staring?
move. Didn't move.
Okay. Was it looking at you?
It was just standing like kind of straight ahead, like staring,
right.
as if we were in its space. Like he was just like he was existing, and we were just in its space. I have goosebumps right now. I'm so scared. No, as if we were in its space and he was just existing.
Right.
So it wasn't just like a dead ass stare.
So he was just like looking out.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So could you see any weapons like a rifle or a sword, anything, nothing like that?
No weapons. Mm-mm.
Was he wearing? He was wearing his uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else like gloves or anything? Anything that would depict like a winter time or?
I think it was probably like it gave me very much like old French army outfit. I don't necessarily remember gloves. Maybe like spring or fall kind of weather. Not heavy wool, but it seemed like a wool jacket.
Yeah. If I was going to theorize it, I think you're on the 3rd or 4th floor here. So
3rd floor, yeah.
I would theorize that it was some sort of post back in his time that was built to kind of oversee what was going on, like probably before U.S. was really put together, because there was a lot of French influence in the
there's a lot of French influence here.
in the United States,
and we're not that far from Canada, so
so there's probably some sort of watch guard tower or something like that, maybe even like a fire watch type thing.
Could be. That's fascinating. I wonder. I mean, this building's incredibly old too, so but yeah, there was that one, and then there was this very ritualistic one that happened, and I realized like after I saw the image that I was seeing, again, I described the room because I was seeing the sharp angles of the dark wood against the light paint. And so I was sitting there, and there were probably like 5 or 6 shrouded figures, all in black, around the bed, and they had these very like tall, high, pointy hats. They kind of looked like, I mean, again, Harry Potter analogy, they looked a little like Death Eaters or like Dementors, just like sitting there. And it felt very ritualistic. It felt very occult. It felt very much like this was some sort of ritual and we were in the center of it.
Right.
That one was very weird. And I definitely have caught glimpses of a similarly dressed creature, just one, all in white though, at different corners of the bed.
What the other ones? What were they? What color was their robes? Black robes.
Mm-hmm. It was like the white one was like the leader, or the
And these robes were. Could you see their faces? Were their faces covered by the robes?
Completely covered. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And how tall would the point? Would you say?
I mean, it was the top. Like, so our ceilings are probably 10 feet, if I were guessing. probably. Yeah, maybe 9 feet. And it was like, they were just like, the tips of them were right there. So these things were very tall.
Okay,
whatever
so
they
the
were.
entities were tall.
They were like
and
probably over 6 feet would be my guess.
Okay, and the points of their hats came even higher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I've seen some ritualistic robes that look like that, and like
Yeah,
there's
like-
some very old photos. Like obviously, like the KKK has
Sure.
appropriated that kind of look, but before that, there's like ritualistic robes that look like that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very that, and there was like this kind of gossamer fabric that was very kind of like not shredded but worn, like threadbare. Yeah.
And were they chanting, or there's no noise?
No, I never. These things never move. I never hear anything. I just see them. Yeah.
Okay, you see them in the daytime?
I see them early morning, so I'll see it, and it'll be 5 in the morning when you're getting just a hint of sunrise coming in. So
And you say like with the sleep paralysis type stuff, would you attribute that to your own personality just because you are a little bit more closer to the veil, or?
I definitely think maybe I'm more sensitive to it just because I am I was a very imaginative kid. I was very into witchy practices as a kid and kind of grew up with it. So there might be a bit of that. It could also be the fact that I just have an incredibly vivid imagination too. So it's odd. It's a little unexplainable.
Yeah.
I've definitely thought about texting our neighbors and being like, do you see ghosts?
Weird question. Where do we put the recycling? Also, do you see any ghosts?
So yeah, do you have the backdoor gate key also? Any shrouded entities in your house? Just double checking.
Yeah, just the shrouded ones. I know that when you were first moving into this apartment, it was a day that I was helping you move.
Bless your soul.
You're welcome. And you and I were kind of like sitting in the living room, and there was no furniture yet.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you had there was a couple of bags. There was some stuff in the corner.
I know exactly what it was. It was a headpiece that I had made that had these kind of drippy chains hanging off of it.
Yeah, the chain, were those chains plastic or they metal?
They were metal.
Metal, so that makes it even crazier.
Yeah.
What I'm about to say. So we were sitting in the living room, and
Because we had 2 chairs in the entire
there's
place.
2 chairs.
No bed.
Yeah. There's nothing in the apartment yet. We were just talking, and then I looked over because it caught my eye. So out of the corner of my left eye, I just looked over, and it was at the same time you heard a noise.
Right.
And I looked over, and this chain was swinging.
Yeah,
Back and
as
forth.
if someone had bumped the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we were the only 2 people there. That was weird. It was like someone walked past it and the bag slid, but the bag didn't move.
Yeah, you would have to walk by and then bump it or flick it.
Yes. It
with
felt
your
like someone
finger.
flicked it.
Yeah. And it was it's crazy that it was metal.
Yeah. And I just remember both of us being like, did you just fucking see that? 'Cause I saw that. It happened again
Really?
the other day, and I wanted to text you about it. It actually happened this past week.
Holy shit.
We
the
both-
same piece? Mm-mm. Oh.
John and I were both standing in the sunroom, and we are trash people, and still have our Christmas tree up. And I just remember seeing, just like you did, out of the corner of my eye, one of the ornaments just swinging. And I turned and looked at John. I was like, "Are you seeing this?" And he said it too. And I was just like, "This is." And we were both standing far, no one bumped the tree. There was no rattling of the
shit.
building, so
shit.
something moved for sure. Yeah.
Once that happened, when you were moving in, you were like, "Oh man, is this place haunted?" Oh no.
It might be. I think it might be.
Yeah.
I don't get bad vibes from it, but it is definitely if John is working later and I'm home alone,
Right.
turning all the lights off is I can't do it.
Oh,
It's
man.
too scary.
But it sounds like I think that a lot of this stuff, that the sleep paralysis stuff, seems residual. It doesn't seem interactive.
Yeah, it doesn't interact ever. It's
Yeah.
just those kind of static images, but they are odd. It's kind of visually it reminds me, and again, this is where the imagination and kind of transitive property kind of comes in. or like transference of imagery. There's an artist who has sleep paralysis demons, and he created an entire tarot deck of this imagery.
Wow.
And a lot of the creatures are these like shrouded figures that don't move. And he was describing his own sleep paralysis as they don't ever move, but they are really scary looking. So yeah, that's been a thing. It's really funny. I did a show last night, and I was talking to one of the audience members who came out, who was like, "I'm a witch." I was like, "Bitch, I'm a witch." And we started talking, and I like mentioned my sleep paralysis demons, and he was like, "Me too."
Yeah.
And like it went into thorough detail about it. So maybe there is something about being more in tune on a spiritual level, that these things are more, readily present for you. I don't know.
I had sleep paralysis when I was a kid.
Oh man, as a kid, that's scary.
As a kid, because you don't know what's going on.
No.
I would always like try to call out for my mom, and
you like,
nothing
can't
would come
breathe.
out.
Oh.
Yeah. Nothing would come out.
No.
Oh man, a couple of times there was something in the room. I couldn't tell what it was, of course, because I can't move my head.
Right.
So because I'm paralyzed, but
Yep.
there was definitely something there. I could just see like an outline, but that was it. It never interacted with me. It was just there. So
weird. It's so weird.
and it's so uncomfortable when it happens too, like because you can't do anything.
Yeah, you really have to kind of get it together and try and talk your brain into it. It's really strange.
Oh my god. Yeah. So you had we talked about the cat, we talked about the sleep paralysis, but you have other stories too.
Yes.
Right. You have some more spooky stuff for us.
Yes. So I went to Drew University, which is in Madison, New Jersey, about 45 minutes outside New York City. And it is the fourth most haunted campus in the United States.
Oh shit.
I have no idea why. And it's on a forest reserve. So like you walk into the woods and then it opens out into this campus. It's wild and vastly different from what I grew up with. So there were several occasions of like seeing things out of the corner of my eye, like both freshman through senior year. I was in one of the dorms where it was purported that there were twins in the building. There were these twin children, very, Shining-esque, but not murdery. And they were in the basement where the laundry was. And I remember going down there and seeing them and like getting my laundry and leaving. And I remember calling my mom and I told her and she was like, "That's horrifying."
Yeah.
So there were also.
So you went to get your laundry and they were just
standing in the laundry room.
Oh no.
Yeah,
No.
It was really creepy.
It was just late at night.
It wasn't that late, but it was evening. It was definitely evening.
Were they just like watching you do laundry?
It was really scary. It was one of those things where I was like, I need to get my shit, but I'm like so scared right now,
We're just it's like I'm just gonna get my laundry.
I'm just gonna. All right, I'm out of here.
Sneak right past you.
Can I just slip it? Yeah. That was one of the incidents, and then there was another. I didn't live in this dorm, but there were constantly reports from one of the dorms called Hoyt. And the fourth floor, the top floor of Hoyt, was a women-only floor. Okay. Because there was an entity that lived up there. Yeah. Which, like, Drew was entirely a co-ed kind of situation.
But because there was an entity, they made it separate.
So Hoyt used to be a convalescent home during, I can't remember which war. I can't remember which war. I think it was World War II, but it might have been Korean War, but I'm not sure. Okay. And there were nurses and doctors taking care of patients. I might be misspeaking. I think it might have been a tuberculosis ward. Not entirely sure. Okay. But there was some sort of medical facility that was meant as a care facility. And one of the nurses had been attacked by one of the patients I don't know if she was killed in the encounter or if it was just like she was so traumatized by the experience. She now haunts the fourth floor.
Oh my God.
And there are actual real stories from students and that some of the women would bring guys over, like as you're in college and you like bring a guy home and who knows what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But men would have these very strange encounters and, they would never cop to it. But it was this idea of if you came to the fourth floor with any other intent other than good, she would know. And there were accounts of men with huge scratches down their back or being pushed. So there was a lot of that happened on the fourth floor, which was like, as being a woman, like I could go up to the fourth floor, but you could feel it. Like it was just kind of like the world kind of like shrank a little bit.
So the women never got attacked?
No, women were never attacked. They were left alone.
So it was only men
Yeah.
that were attacked on that floor, huh?
Correct.
So once more for the listeners, what is this? What's the name of this place?
This is Drew University. This was
University.
Hoyt Hall.
In New Jersey?
In New Jersey.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, if you look up like haunted campuses in the U.S., we're the fourth one. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like there was a little boy that haunted the parking lot. So the big ghost story I have.
Oh, here we go.
I have a big ghost story. So I was a theater major, and we. So the Shakespeare Theater of New Jersey is on our campus. They have a building on our campus. And when they are not running productions, the theater department can put a play in there, usually in the spring. So we were doing As You Like It, Shakespeare production, and it's one of the best shows ever. And this place is, it's huge, it's vast, it's very, very beautiful, kind of proscenium stage. It's got 2 crow's nests and... to get up and adjust the lights, there's like, you have to like do a huge extension ladder to get up and adjust lights. It's wild, wild. There's a balcony. And this was like I think that was my first production in that space. And this building used to be an old gymnasium. It was the gym for the school for a long time. And it was one of those old school gyms where they would have the floor that would close over top of the pool. So like the basketball court would close over top of the pool and then like open out.
Oh, you went to a fancy college.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that was like a big thing in like the 60s, 70s, 80s to have this, like to accommodate space.
Right.
So the track ran around the pool. And there was a young boy who was part of the track team named Reggie. And he was running around the pool, and he slipped, and he fell, and he drowned. That's the story that I remember. And so the public safety offices, like, modern day, fast forward, public safety offices would get late night phone calls, and they would just hear breathing on the other end, and you'd hear dripping water.
Man.
Yeah, it's like, it kind of makes me like tear up a little bit. It's so creepy. But Reggie is so playful. So we had this like ritual anytime we were doing a show there is we would bring a coloring book and crayons and you'd leave them in the booth. And that's like an offering to Reggie to be like, hey, we're in your space. We acknowledge that. But we also want to just check in with you and let you know that we're here. And you would come back and you'd see some of the crayons had been dulled down.
That's very nice.
Which was really cool.
Yeah.
But when we were running As You Like It, I had a big quick change from my boy outfit into the wedding dress at the end. And I would have to exit stage right, go on, have my dresser zip me into the wedding dress, run down the hallway, and enter through the aisle. So it was like probably all of 4 minutes that I could do this in.
Right.
So I go to do that, and I notice that the lights in the hall are off. And it's mid-show. So it's like they always left it on because they were like, we're not going to mess around. We don't want anybody to trip. So I was like, why are the lights off? This is so weird. And I just ran around and made my entrance. And then at the end of the show, my friend Charlotte was also doing a quick change where she was going from her outfit into a wedding dress because there's this big 4 bride, 4 groom wedding at the end of the play. And she rounds the corner to make her entrance through the same way. And she came back to me and she was white as a sheet after the show. She was like, you would not believe what happened. All of the lights were off and all of the extra chairs that they did for overflow seating were knocked over in the hallway. Whoa. So she had to climb over. She was late for her entrance. She had to climb over them. And I was like, what are you talking about? And we went back and checked and all the chairs were back.
Oh my God.
It was wild. It was wild. Something could have happened. Like we could always, I'm more of a Scully than a Mulder.
Yeah.
I'm a skeptic in some of that stuff. But like given what we had seen regarding Reggie throughout the production process, I would not be surprised if that happened for real. Like I do believe Charlotte on that one. Wow. I know. Isn't that creepy?
Oh man, that's weird. And you can't tell. What are you supposed to say to somebody? Like, oh, the chair, they were turned over. I was
like, I believe you because she was late and she was never late for the entrance.
Yeah.
And I was like, and she didn't have a dresser because she didn't have to go as fast.
Yeah.
But it was like something is going on here.
That would make me crazy.
Yeah,
If I
she
had to,
just like,
oh, man,
oh
all
no,
the
you know,
chores,
it wasn't after the show. I was waiting to do my entrance and she came around the corner. She was like, you're not going to believe what I just saw. It was crazy. Oh my God. I still think about that. Obviously. Like how many years later? This is like, I don't know. I don't want to admit my age. It's like 15 years later or something. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Super wild.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So let's talk about you still do some tarot readings.
I do. Yes.
So you want to plug that?
Yeah. Anyone who's interested in a tarot reading, I do virtual readings and in-person readings, 3-card draw. And I have myriad decks with which we can work. And you can contact me through my Instagram, which is the TheHelenA HANDBASKET, the Helena Handbasket, on Instagram. And if you message me, we can talk about setting up a tarot reading. So yeah, I do that. And I'm hoping that we do a tarot reading before we jump into our next activity for today. We can just see what's going on.
Maybe we should.
We might. I mean, it's a full moon in Cancer. I was telling you earlier that it's
man.
I can't remember the exact timing on it. I would have to talk to Jordan, but I know we are in the midst of full moon in Cancer and a Mercury retrograde, but Cancer is a very psychic sign. It is ruled by the moon. It's very much in touch with dreams and kind of the place between the veil, that very like thin line.
Ooh,
so
it's gonna be a weird night.
Could be a weird night. We'll find out.
One more time, what's your handle so people can do the tarot reading?
Yeah, it's the Helena Handbasket or the Helena Handbasket on Instagram. I'm the only one that spells it that way. So
all right, easy to find. There you go.
Please don't go to my drag sister in DC, who is also a Helena Handbasket, who spells it differently, because she'll be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
All right, yeah, I think we're gonna cut there. I'll definitely love to have you back on the podcast, Caito.
Anytime.
Yeah,
I have
I'm
so
sure
many ghost stories.
You got more stories,
Yes.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I grew up in New Mexico. It's just haunted as shit. It's so scary out there.
Awesome. But yeah, thank you, Caito, for being on the show.
Thanks, James.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
What's up, everybody? So, Caito was nice enough to do a Ganzfeld session after our talk. So, coming up, you're going to hear her. It gets pretty weird. So, also, she's going to be back on the show at some point. So, tune in for that, and we'll do like a breakdown and a little analysis of what she saw in this session. Here's the audio.
I'm in a field. Even if you just see a shadow, like I see shadows, I see darks, I see stars, and then anything you see, even if you just feel that's what it looks like without seeing what it looks like, just say it out loud.
Okay.
And it tends to just start accelerating with the more you talk about whatever's going on inside of your head.
Okay.
Cool. Go for it.
I see eye floaters. Everything's gone a bit like purple lavender color, like with splotches of red. I'm getting a voice. It's gone now. The light flashed brighter and went dim. Voice is back. I'm getting like 80s synth lead singer from the voice. Light got darker. I'm hearing music. Like Johnny Carson big band. Definitely just felt movement. Oh, I got a static buzz. That was so scary. Music's gone entirely. Oh, light just turned like pink, like a soft pink. Oh, back to red, back to red. There's something there. Like standing up right there. A woman in a dress. Black dress. Non-threatening, but anxious. Still there. I should stop pointing, that's rude. She just walked down the hall. She's gone. That was wild. Like Victorian, like lace dress, puffy sleeves. I feel uneasy because she felt uneasy. My feet are tingly. Something is back right there. Smaller. Oh God, I just touched something. Oh God. Wait, was that the light stand? I'm so scared.
That was the light.
Okay. I just got so scared. Yeah, there's something like I feel like on the couch. Small, like an animal or like maybe a child, like small, little, lighter entity. Like maybe a cat, like a cat snoozing. Orange cat. That's weird. My toes are numb. Man's voice in my right ear. Definitely heard hello. Like a radio key, like a hello. I'm hearing a conversation, 2 voices, back and forth. Sounds like an interview. Like a job interview? Oh, it's wild. It's 2 men, one's younger. Oh, they're gone now. I heard that hello again. Like a hello. I'm hearing a car engine rev. Not quite that squeal of like tires stuck in the mud, but it's like tires stuck in the mud vibe. Oh, static. Oh my God, that was so scary. Oh my God, I'm so scared. Oh no. Yeah, I heard a like, meh. So, oh my God, something moved. Are you guys seated?
Yes.
Oh my God, something moved over there. Something moved. Like footsteps, like something. Oh my God. Oh my God, that was so scary.
Fucking wild. I think I'm trying to do it with a head full of fucking mushrooms.
Oh my God. That was a lot. That was the most I've ever had. Yeah, that was wild.
All right, that'll be it for episode 6. And again, anytime you have questions or you want to add something, you can always email me at ganzfeldfilespodcast@gmail.com. Also on Instagram, so check out the Ganzfeld Files podcast on Instagram. You can always DM me at Instagram. Follow the Instagram page for updates and possibly some clips, video in the future. As always, we're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Stitcher. All right. Thanks, everybody.